Okay, good evening once again, esteemed engineers, and it's wonderful to be hosting this webinar with my wonderful co-host Diana. And as we had an earlier chat with Engineer Doreen Karima, so we believe with more women at IEK, we will continue having transformative agendas being pushed through. That's why today we have been hosting two wonderful engineers, and we hope to see our wonderful fair gender engineers joining IEK and pushing the agendas of all engineers all over the world. Thank you, Diana, for joining me, my co-host, and thank you, Karanja, for tuning in for this session a few hours before the polls open in the morning tomorrow at 6. And I was saying, wonderful engineers institution of Kenya should be led by wonderful engineers with vision, engineers who have felt the pain and who have gone through some challenges to yearn for some changes at IEK. We need engineers who can be proactive on matters engineering in Kenya. We need engineers who can stand firm, in when engineers are being oppressed, and who will not grow cold feet in case engineers have to go on a demonstration that is legally constituted in the Constitution of Kenya 2010, picketing for the rights of engineers, and who will fight for all that. So as we head towards the election and no one else has come up to want to sit on the webinar as our guest, today's guest, right now's guest rather, is engineer Carren, Aoko, OYOLLA, and she has been quite a force for the young engineers who have met her or who have interacted with her and who have needed some of her help, or she needed their help. So Engineer OYOLLA, kindly check your mic, double tap it or click on the mic. So Engineer OYOLLA, as I was saying, she has had a nice move, nice profession, and she is so far I know that she is transparent. She likes working in the background, but stings when necessary. She can work openly, and I know she will deliver if given a mandate.
That's true. I agree with you, Ndolo.
So we need to if you remember the famous boxer, Clays, the Muhammad Ali, and he said what did he say when he was talking about the rumble in the jungle? He will sting like a bee, and so I hope engineer will be able to sting like a bee when necessary, but most importantly, I would want to see some changes in matters finance at IEK, which calls for transparency and calls for accountability. So let's everybody join me and join my co-host Diana in welcoming Engineer Carren, Aoko, OYOLLA. Diana, take us to the next session of the program.
Yeah, thank you, Engineer Ndolo. So at this point, I would also want to welcome Engineer Carren. This evening, we'll be hosting Engineer Carren, who is going for the seat of the Horn Treasurer. She'll be telling us on what the job description of that seat entails. I know it's a very crucial seat in the IEK, in the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, being an institution that is run by members. Of course, such a seat would require a lot of responsibilities. I acknowledge that she's a very efficient engineer and one who has been supporting especially graduate engineers in even access to some of the conferences that most of them cannot afford or at this point in life. So Engineer Carren, welcome. You'll do your introduction, tell us your engineering background, your candidature, your manifesto, and then you'll prompt us on when to ask questions. From there, you can give your parting shot or rather your pitch. So members, everyone is expected to mute their microphones at this point and to stop their videos so that we can give Engineer Carren ample time and listen to her. And then from then you're encouraged to ask a question through your microphone. If you're in a noisy place, you can put it on the chat and then we will ask Engineer Carren on your behalf. So we are your hosts, I, Diana Waidanje, and Engineer Ndolo Anthony. So welcome, Engineer Carren. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ndolo. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the two of you for providing this platform for the candidates to engage with the other years and also to sell our manifesto to the voters. So you've been told my name is Engineer Carren OYOLLA. I'm a professional engineer with IBK and also a corporate member for IEK. I hold a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from the University of Nairobi and a Master's in Project Planning and Management from University of Nairobi. I have 12 years of engineering experience in design and construction, specifically for roads, which I've gathered through my engagement in various projects across the country. For example, I've been involved as assistant engineer in the rehabilitation, dualing of Mombasa Road from JKIA turnoff to Machakos turnoff. And then I've also been involved as assistant materials engineer in rehabilitation of Kericho, Kisumu Road, and also in the same capacity in the construction of Kisumu Southern Bypass. And also after registration, I've been privileged to be a resident engineer for various projects also in the country. One of them is the famous Nairobi Regeneration Project, which was a brainchild of His Excellency, the President, to rehabilitate various roads within Eastland area. This project was 26 kilometers of rehabilitated roads, which we managed to finish within a period of 1 year. And also, I've been a resident engineer projects in Bomet. There's Bomet, Kapsimoto, and then Kapsimoto Celibate, a total 14 kilometers of road. Also, I've been resident engineer various projects around Nairobi, currently supervising small projects within Nairobi County. One of them, there's Parklands Road, there's General Mathenge Road, so they are scattered all over Nairobi. I'm offering my candidature for the position of treasurer in the upcoming elections, and my election is based on 3 pillars. The first of them will be financial stewardship. The second one is resource mobilization. And the third one is mentorship and capacity building. The financial I intend to engage strategies such as develop internal financial control framework, council, to enable the information to stakeholders, improve the way we engage with our partners, practice the financial prudence. Of course, will be trusted by our partners, and this will be able to generate revenue to the institution. The second strategy under financial stewardship will be financial monitoring. I think currently the institution does not engage auditors, especially internal auditors. I intend to develop within the existing committees, maybe internal audit committee, to monitor the financial activities within the institution. And also, we can't just operate without like person checking we do our things. I think this will also ensure that we stick to our plan, so that at the beginning of the financial year, when we make our work plans and we submit them to the council for approval, we need to ensure that these work plans are adhered to up to the end of the financial year. And this will also reduce maybe the wastage of resources within the institution. Also, the third one within the same financial stewardship, the financial reporting. Currently, I don't think these reports are easily accessible to members, and the main income for the institution is through the membership subscriptions. So the members should be able to see the reports and be able to get how their resources, the money is spent within the institution. So I'll ensure that these reports are available to members, especially on newly developed IEK, so that at a click of the button, you can be able to access reports, be able to audit by yourself, and be able to ask questions to the institution. My second pillar is mobilization. The new IEK strategic plan. And it's evident that IEK a target of revenue from currently 160 million to 100 million in the year 2023. And I think this will take hard work from the new council to be able to achieve, but I think it's achievable if you work as a team. And one of the strategies that has been funded to achieve this target is through growing the membership of the institution. This can be done by increasing the interviewing panels to ensure that the transition rate is increased. Currently, if you look at the trends in 2014, it had been fluctuating, but in 2018, the institute was able to grow 16% in membership registration. But I think we need to aim higher. A growth rate, actually, we can be able to get 100%, why not? To ensure that all the engineers who graduate from the universities are registered within a period of 3 years. This is achievable if we set out to achieve it. And also another strategy for being able to generate more interviews so that we start the subscription. We can come up with, so far I've not seen an IEK come up with online courses for the CPD. This will also greatly reduce the cost of the CPD, which currently most engineers are claiming is too high, especially for engineers. So if we can package these trainings and offer them online so that we reduce the cost, but we also make them accessible to the engineers, we'll be able to generate more resources. And also IEK can partner with like-minded organizations through event organization and through various dinners, the way we're doing. If we make them more, we make them for various like within engineering, it's not civil engineering. If we make engineers, maybe this month we can do civil engineers, after a while we do for mechanical engineers, that the training is geared toward a specific group. This will also greatly increase the revenue for the institution. My third pillar is on mentorship, capacity building, which I'm very passionate about as an engineer. I think currently we don't have a structured mentorship program at IEK. So if you go through almost talking about mentorship and people have been asking how many have you mentored as an individual. And I think we need to move away from this kind of ad hoc mentorship of engineers. IEK needs to come up with the policy framework on how engineers are supposed to be mentored. And as an individual, I've been thinking, why can't we take advantage of the current government internship program so that such that we lobby the government to allow IEK to give placement, IEK to give to place engineers in this program. And IEK should also partner with the road agencies to come up with structured trainings for these interns once they're placed in this institution. I think for that part one, that's all. Yeah.
All right, that was brief. So we can ask you questions.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, so I think Engineer Nancy, you can mute your microphone, please. So at this point, I would like to welcome anyone who has a question to ask Engineer Carren. Just in case you're joining us, Engineer Carren is vying for the Hon Treasurer of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. So any question you may have regarding her candidature and anything engineering, this is the time. You can unmute your microphone and ask, or even give a comment. So Engineer Nancy, please go ahead. I can see you've unmuted.
Oh. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi,
Engineer Nancy.
I am here. It's good to hear from you guys. Engineer Carren, I have a question. I have a question to you specifically. What do you propose to do differently from how the office of the Honorary Treasurer has been?
I think I've already mentioned that. Currently, I've noted that there are no financial control framework within the IEK in terms of the procedures on how payments are supposed to be done. I reduced one. But after the budget, noted there are no, the auditing that happens there is, I think, for the one for the final audit at the end of the financial year. But for us to achieve these targets at that financial year, there has to be a group of people or a committee that does ensure that budgets of the proposals we made and approved at the beginning of the financial year, the activities we have agreed, which have been to be done within the financial period, are followed to the latter. And then secondly, the procurement process in the institution. There is no laid down procedure on how procurement is done. I think there's a lot of single sourcing, which is not according to the existing procurement rule within the. So I intend to put in place procedures and policy framework on how procurement within the institution is supposed to be done. Also ensure that the 30% procurement rule for the special groups is also followed, and also to, with single sourcing, of course, it extends the institution spending more, it's competitive. we follow the existing procurement laws and put the policy framework within the institution to follow these rules, procurement will be done according to whoever comes to audit process, actually check that these procedures are followed. It also ensures accountability issue here. Currently, I don't think it's, I can't say it's not there, but it's not to the standard. Yeah.
Okay. So, Engineer Nancy, is your question well answered? Engineer Nancy, is your question well answered?
No, could I finish the last bit of my question? I think it
Yes,
was in
please,
two
go ahead.
parts.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, Engineer Carren, I've actually been thinking about it. Is it possible, say, because some of this procurement, for example, some of these things that can actually be done by engineers, you see, like even say this, the current elections we are going to have, you see, would you say, is it possible that the council can now, through your office, if it can even publish, you see, publish, these are the services that IEK requires within this. These are the requirements, you see, and even send to members. So some of us, if maybe we can offer services in one of these things, I actually think it would be better to members, you see.
I agree with you, Nancy, because if you put down the procedures on how procurement is supposed to be done, follow existing procurement laws, because the existing procurement actually laws does not allow single sourcing. Single sourcing usually ensures fraudulent in nature. So if procurement is open, it will be advertised. Science opening might not be open to the whole country. You can still be open procurement, but within restricted members. Sometimes when you're advertising for maybe special access, then you can't open it to everyone. So when these procedures are put in place, you advertise and you stop advertising that the qualification for whoever we're bidding for is any price to bid to consider. Also, I don't know after advertising services usually some evaluation to identify the
Sorry for that. I think engineer should be back shortly.
She went off.
Yeah, I was wondering whether it's my internet.
It's
I think I
not.
don't
It's
trust my
not.
internet
It's
as
not.
much, but
It's
maybe it's
not.
not mine.
It's not. Actually, that's why I decided to be doing this, because my internet is very stable. It all. Even right now, I'm in the house and my internet. I'm watching movies instead and listening to you guys. I'm watching KTN news and all the stuff. But I think engineer is, maybe she's using the phone, and where she's placed, she could be hiding from the kid. You know, the kid is crying a bit.
Yeah, the kid crying.
Being a mother is tough.
Yeah, but engineer Dana and Dolo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I still think, especially what you're asking, even before maybe engineer comes back.
Yes.
There should be a way that we can do some of these things.
Like?
No, like offering some of these services. Say for example, there's the magazine, there's even some of these events, you see.
You know,
I completely agree with you.
Nancy,
Yes.
it's really hard to try to advise people who don't want change. And what I know is from 2018, the council has been a bit transformative. We have few people who want to transform IEK. We have a bigger number who are still
Yes.
against the change at IEK. You see, IEK clause, there's a clause that says for you to run for presidency, you must be have served in the council before. And that clause has brought issues. And that's why right now you see, many people are against the idea of having the likes of Engineer Howard and the likes of Engineer Okaka, because they have never been in the council. They have only served in committees.
Oh, wait. So there's such a clause.
There is a clause in the IEK constitution that is
But you know, if I'm imagining if there was one, Engineer Howard could not have gotten in. Like,
you see, he wanted
couldn't have
to
gotten in even in the participants and the
there was
contestants list.
that's one of the things that are in the courts, you know. Those are one of the things that are in the courts. So because those things need to be sorted out, and there is a clause also in IEK constitution that does not even allow for electronic voting, but the special general meeting agreed for electronic voting. You see, so these are issues that we need to fight for, and we need to be able to change some of the things, because there's no way that you can have members and don't have them. The majority there are actually graduate engineers going below, and the majority are not being, their voice is not being heard in the selection. And for me, this idea of not agreeing to changing the constitution is really, it does not really augur well with me, because we're in the 21st century and we need to be able to have a voice. That said, we need to have young engineers. I can tell you for a fact, I've been involved in other areas like Industrial 4 conferences, 4.0, and the people running the show on the ground are actually, most of them are students. I've seen that in Russia, I've seen that in Turkey, I've seen that in Bulgaria, and last week when I was in Serbia, I also saw it, and the students are the ones running the show. Graduates, the young engineers around are the ones doing projects that amaze engineers outside. But if we have IEK only insisting of perpetuating internal leadership, it's like inheritance, and it's not really good at all. It doesn't really augur well with the next generation, and that's what makes many engineers shy away from even joining IEK.
That's true. You can see engineers back.
Yeah, so Nancy, we need to be able to start at something that IEK can, and I believe Engineer OYOLLA can maybe support us in that when she enters the office. So Engineer, you are saying, you are answering Nancy?
Yes.
Maybe you can check your internet connection. It's a bit shaky.
Checking still.
Yes. Are you using your phone as the hotspot?
Yes, I'm using the phone.
And
the internet. I changed from the Wi-Fi to the phone. It's still
okay. Okay. What the phone might be okay. What you need to do is just remove the Wi-Fi completely, disconnect it so that it doesn't connect back. Yeah. All right, Nancy, do you want to repeat your question?
Yeah. I was asking, is there a way we can actually ensure more participation of IEK members in some of this procurement of services? See, is there a way you've thought about it that we can, because you see sometimes some of these things can actually even be done by graduate engineers, you see. And it's also a way of us even creating opportunity and employment and giving some of our members business. If we can actually do it, even do it better.
Yes, Nancy, I think I agree with your sentiments, because the day IEK, our institute, so all the engineers should be able to benefit from any of the activities that is being undertaken by the IEK. And I think I've already said that if we come up with procedures such that when we are procuring any service or goods, we can do something called restricted procurement. Under restricted, you can actually first of all do a groundwork to identify different firms, different as who offer such services. Then you do pre-qualification such that these engineers in the system, in a case where anytime you want to procure those services, but they have to be specialized services that can be able. So you will still do an open tendering process, but within the restricted group that you already identified and you pre-qualify. I think with that, it will be able to benefit yes within the institution. And also, if you go into the 30%, I was talking about 30% of the special groups, most of the young engineers fall under the youths. We should also consider such groups, and we should also be able to consider engineers living with disabilities. I know that it's also supported by the government procurement rule. So I think IEK we should plan to operate within that framework. And if we do that and come up with processes, we'll still be able to benefit the various group of engineers within the IEK. Yes. I hope we
Are you satisfied with the answer?
I am.
All right, engineer, there's a question somebody is asking, Engineer Busuben, I know you know him.
Yes.
He's asking, what is your role in the selection process of the farm doing elections? I think the current farm that is going to take election. And going with that question, I would also want to ask, why is IEK not involving members in some of these small projects that young engineers can do even better? At South Rift, we did it better and the election was even smoother. And you can see even the visibility that South Rift is doing. They're becoming more, they're trending even on Twitter. If you open Twitter, you find that they're trending more than IEK. Why can't we have young engineers being offered some of those duties and some of those cheap, easy things, and at least provide opportunity to young engineers? Don't we believe in the young engineers at IEK?
I think let me start by responding to the first question. I'm not involved with the firm that is going to run the elections. I think I've only met the scrutineers with the other candidates. I don't know who is running the farm, so I don't have any involvement in the farm. And on the issue of involvement of young engineers in activities like providing the services for elections and moderating some of these events, I agree with you. It is something the new council is going to embrace. I think the young engineers have maybe provided platforms for them to come forward and showcase what will be open, will be accessible, will be communicating before we for these services. I think the new website is actually a very good idea because we can be able to put all these the group within the unit, and then invite through the mails or the, because IEK has all the members' details, will be able to support the information on the services the IEK without prejudice. I mean, we don't have to put caveat that services can only be provided by this specific registered engineer. IEK is for all of us, both graduate and the professionals and the fellows. So going forward, I think this is something we're going to embrace, and you'll see us doing it differently.
Thank you, engineer, for that. And in maybe yes or no, why is it that IEK is depending so much on what Engineers Board of Kenya is doing? Like everybody is talking about IEK, EBK mentorship program, and many of the engineers that I've asked, they have not even registered to be mentors at IEK, at EBK. So why is IEK trying to ride on the achievements of the regulator rather than having their own achievements? And what do you think you will do in maybe 2 minutes? Then we give you a break to sort out the internet issue.
Okay, that's the problem there for IEK trying on regulator mentorship program. Go through the various manifestos, the various candidates for these 2020 elections. Most of them have come out to talk about the mentorship. And I think also in my manifesto, I've given the strategies which IEK can put in place to ensure that we have our own mentorship program, which is structured for IEK members. But I think also EBK and IEK, we serve the same needs. So if we can have, EBK can have their own mentorship program and then IEK has their own mentorship program, the pool be mentored. So personally, I don't think EBK offering mentorship program is an issue, but we can also strengthen the IEK to structure and up with their own mentorship program so that engineers, alternatives.
Yes. All right, engineers. I think we will allow engineer to take a breather so that she can also position her network well, because we are entering the second session. At least we'll have a 30, 40 minute session so that we can ask more questions. Engineer, kindly try to check on the internet connection, please. We come back in 2 minutes. Is that okay?
2 minutes, fine.
All right. Everybody join back after 2 minutes.
Okay.